to testify against him. The only proof that Salehi is alive is his forced confession. His uncle is deeply concerned the family hasn't been able to visit him since his imprisonment. 2 cases out of many that highlight the brutality with which those in power in Iran are dealing with protesters. Nevertheless, many Iranians agree that it's worth fighting for.
Well, the European Union is considering further sanctions against Iran over the executions. DW's Jack Parrock is in Brussels and has more on the likely form of those measures.
We've heard now from France and Ireland to say that foreign ministers meeting in Brussels at the start of next week are going to sign off on fresh sanctions against Iran. They could potentially involve putting 20 people on a blacklist of travel bans and asset freezes. Clearly, a lot of those people probably don't actually have an intention to travel into the European Union or perhaps their assets here, but it will be symbolic. Also, they'll do something similar to one entity. This is also over the protests since the death of Mahsa Amini, but also now since an Iranian gentleman, as part of those protests, was executed in Iran, which the European Union broadly is completely against the death penalty anywhere, and is very concerned about this issue. Now, we won't know the exact details of what the sanctions that are put on are until the foreign ministers meet, but we're pretty sure that they will come into place. The question is, what does this mean for the broader context of the European Union trying to pull Iran and the United States back into the Iran nuclear deal, which is intended to prevent Iran from gaining access to a nuclear weapon, but which Iran says it then wants economic opening up to the rest of the world. And also the questions of its relations to Russia, because sanctions have been placed on Iran for extending drone equipment to Russia to support its invasion of Ukraine. The big question is what power can sanctions have? Neither Iran nor Russia, for that matter, have really changed their path or their ways in the way that the Western powers would like them to, no matter how many sanctions have been put on.
Well, here's a look at some other stories making headlines around the world. Police in Belgium have arrested 5 people, including a European Parliament Vice President, in connection with a corruption investigation. Greek socialist MEP Eva Kaili was suspended by her party following arrest. According to media reports, police are looking into alleged influence peddling by Qatar at the parliament. A former Minneapolis police officer involved in the killing of George Floyd has been sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. J. Alexander Kyung pleaded guilty in October to aiding and abetting manslaughter. Kyung is already serving a federal sentence for violating Floyd's civil rights. Peru's new president has appeared on national television at a military ceremony as she attempts to secure her grip on power. Dina Boluarte was elevated from vice president to replace ousted leftist leader Pedro Castillo earlier this week. Castillo supporters are staging protests to demand his return, and Boluarte is facing calls for early elections. Now, in the U.S., Arizona Senator Kirsten Sinema has announced that she is leaving the Democratic Party. This comes just days after the Democrats increased their slim majority in the Senate. Sinema will register as an independent and has emphasized that she will not sit with Republicans. She also plans to continue her committee positions through the Democrats and is expected to continue casting most of her votes with them. Well, here's what the White House has had to say about this move.
The way we see it and understand it, it does not change the new Democratic majority control of the Senate. And we have every reason to expect that we will continue to work with her successfully.
So the White House says that Sinema's move won't change anything. DW's Carolina Chimoy has more from Washington, D.C.
They're probably right. The Democrats will still have a slight majority in the Senate, even if Sinema does not vote as a Democrat. Sinema has not specifically said that she will still caucus with the Democrats, but she has said that she won't vote with Senate Republicans. And this means The Democrats would probably still hold the majority of 51 to 49 in the upper chamber. However, even if Sinema continues to cast most of her votes with the Democrats, she will probably also separate herself on certain issues like we have already seen in the past. Let's keep in mind that she has always voted in an independent manner, defending some party priorities, like, for example, same-sex marriage, but also opposing others like a minimum wage increase. Sinema herself has declared in a video where she was announcing her decision that nothing is going to change for her. We know that she is also still holding her Democratic committee assignments, as you just mentioned, and effectively this means that she will be probably an independent, probably aligned with Democrats like other senators like Bernie Sanders from Vermont or Angus King from Maine.